I recently met Mike Rugg, who owns the Bigfoot Museum here in Felton, California, and learned that there have been many Bigfoot sightings here, which surprised me because I thought there was too many people in this area. But listen to what he has to say.
Okay, what I want to ask you is, how did you get started? I mean, what made you interested in Bigfoot in the first place?
Well, I believe that my interest started in a subliminal fashion when I was a small child and had an actual Bigfoot encounter, which my parents summarily shrugged off and told me to forget about, and which for most of my life I kind of figured that, you know, I'd made that up in my own mind. That was my old fantasy. But in recent years I've gone over this, spoke with my mother about it, and feel very strongly that I probably did see a Bigfoot at age 4½, and that's what kindled this absolute obsession that I have about it.
How many people do you think you've met who say they've seen Bigfoot?
Well, I would say seen and or experienced. A lot of our Bigfoot reports are vocalizations, and of course you can't see the source, you have to only guess at it. So you hear a lot of screams, and we have a lot of people in our area reporting these screams.
And this area is Santa Cruz, which I find so amazing that there could be anything in such what seems to me a populated area.
Yeah, well, I thought that too, and I've lived here since, actually pretty much full-time since 1958, except when I went away to college for a while. And I never expected that there'd be Bigfoot here today. I knew that there had been Bigfoot here in the past, because that would go without saying almost, based on the research I'd done on Bigfoot in general. And I'd heard a couple of local stories over the years, but figured they were just sort of part of the folklore, perhaps, or whatever, like most people. Shrugged it off and conceded that Bigfoot probably was up there and not here. Yeah. But I found out differently. Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. And what I found is that there are people out there who are dying to talk about this, and they can't, because every time they do, their friends and relatives make fun of them, and when you're ridiculed, it's pretty hard to keep talking about something.
How many people have actually said, not the vocalization, but say they've seen Bigfoot in this area, in the Santa Cruz area, mountain area?
In the Santa Cruz area, we've had people who have seen them, only seen, not the vocalizations. Okay, let's see. So we have a map that we're developing of the more popular and sightings that date back. We don't have the newest work up there, of course, because we don't want to publicize that quite yet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 large pins on our local map. And as I said, not all the evidence all the pins are placed yet. So there's been at least that many sighting reports.
The thing that people, that bothers me is that the fact that there's never been a body found, and I would like to hear some of your stories about that. You say how many people that you know have seen bodies?
Well, there are of course stories that involving people I haven't met, but I have information secondhand, stories of hunters who've shot at a bear that turned out to not be a bear when they went to harvest the kill. And I had the fortune to meet a man named Murphy who lives right here in this area. This man's a former Navy SEAL. He's a baby boomer like myself. And he spent a lot of time up in Northern California, up in the area where the, you know, near where Lake Shasta is now, because his father had land there. And of course it was covered by the lake. And he had a companion as a child, a man who used to love to tell stories to him, who was a friend of his father's. It was an old mountain man named Elmer Briner. And Mr. Murphy, the local man, came in our museum here one day, and he stood here and he told me the story. And so he was no more than 3 feet away from me, and he said that at the turn of the century, Mr. Elmer Briner was hunting with his companion, a man named Cannonball, who was a Pit River Indian, a native of that area, and he was across the river on the he had gone across on a cable, a little cart attached to a cable, and he was hunting on the far side. Briner was on our side, so to speak, the point of view, and Briner looked down and saw the back of a grizzly bear down on the edge of the river, and so he took careful aim and he shot it in the back of the head, and watched as the bear went down, waited to see if it got up again. It didn't. He figured he had a clean kill. And the two of them apparently converged at about the same time where the bear kill was. And at this point, and I'm doing it myself, as the man was telling me the story, he started choking up a little bit, and he developed a little tear in his eye, and he said, "Excuse me, I get a little a little emotional at this point, because when old Elmer Briner told me the story, he almost cried like a baby, because he said that when they turned the bear over to gut it, that it had a human face, had human hands, and human feet. Now the rest of it looked quite a bit more like a grizzly bear than a person, at least at a distance, but nonetheless, he had apparently killed a wild man, and he was absolutely mortified by this, and shocked, and regretful, had extreme remorse. He was a very gentle man, actually. He honored the animals he killed, and he didn't intend to kill what he felt was a wild person. So the two of them proceeded to push the body into the river, sort of a burial at sea type thing, because they were reluctant to attempt to drag it up on land where they could bury it. And, you know, they were in survival mode, had other things to do. But nonetheless, this is the story that was told to me by a man who lives right nearby. I run into him occasionally at the Quick Stop. And I absolutely believe that's a true story. And I felt the emotion transferred from him directly to me across that time, and you know, it's just fascinating. That's a typical reason why these things haven't been reported yet. Now, of course, that's back a century ago, and in this day and age, we're in the information age, and more people are educated about the existence of these creatures now, because nobody back then knew about them, except for the few people who had experienced them and actually talked about it, and weren't afraid of all the derision. But seriously, most people stop talking almost immediately because of the jokes. So, it's a great story.